The train whistle tore through the Colorado morning like a blade. Sharp, final, on the rough-hewn wooden platform, a woman stood alone. The hem of her navy traveling dress was frayed at the edges. In her hand, she clutched a letter folded and unfolded so many times the creases had gone soft. Steam billowed from the engine, swallowing everything in white. At the far to end of the platform, a man's voice rose, deep like thunder before rain. A fist slammed against a wooden counter. Heavy boots echoed across the planks. The woman tightened her grip on the letter. 10 minutes passed, then 20. No one came for her 3,000 miles. One carpet bag, her father's worn copy of Whitman, and a promise of marriage to a man she had never met. The steam began to thin, and there, through the parting white, a pair of eyes, the color of the Colorado sky, lifted for the very first time. The train whistle cut through the Colorado morning like a blade, sharp, final. I pressed my forehead against the window, watched Boston disappear behind me 3 days ago. Now this Ashford Creek, my new life, or what I hoped would be a new life. The letter sat in my lap, folded and unfolded, so many times the creases had gone soft. Dear Miss Hayes, I find your most recent correspondence encouraging. Yes, I believe we shall suit each other admirably. The passage is arranged. I await your arrival with anticipation. Yours in sincerity, Charles Whitmore. Sincerity. I almost laughed. Almost, because 3 months of letters should mean something. Should count for something. Except I'd learned the hard way that should and would were two different countries. And I was traveling between them with nothing but a carpet bag and my father's copy of Whitman. The train lurched, slowed. I smoothed down my navy traveling dress, the best one I owned, which wasn't saying much. Not anymore. Not since father died, and the creditors came like vultures to a carcass. I'd sold everything, the house, the furniture, mother's china, father's books, everything except the Whitman, because a girl has to keep something, has to hold on to some small piece of who she was before the world went sideways. The platform came into view. Wooden roof, hewn, so different from Boston's brick and iron. This was the West, unfinished. Like me. The train shuddered to a stop. Steam billowed past my window. For a moment I couldn't see anything. Couldn't see the future I'd promised myself existed out here. Then the steam cleared, and I saw him. Not Charles, someone else. Tall, broad-shouldered dark hair under a brown Stetson. He stood near the station house, his back to me, arguing. Even from here, I could see the tension in his shoulders, the controlled anger in how he held himself. I don't care what your ledger says. His voice carried deep, like thunder before rain. The cattle were promised for yesterday's train. My men have been waiting since dawn. The station master backed away, small, bespectacled. Nervous, Mr. Wolf? I understand your frustration, but nothing. A deal is a deal, Wolf. Decker Wolf. I'd heard the name in Charles's letters. The largest ranch in the county, he'd written. A difficult man. Not one for polite company. I watched this difficult man slam his hand on the counter. Watched the station master flinch. And something in me stirred. Not fear, of what it looked like when someone fought for what they believed was right. Even if they fought alone. I gathered my carpet bag, stepped down from the train. The platform was emptying fast, passengers scattering like leaves. I stood there waiting, for Charles, for my future, for whatever came next. 5 minutes passed, 10 the platform cleared. Decker Wolf finished his argument and strode away, his boots heavy on the wooden planks. He passed within 6 feet of me, didn't look, didn't notice. Why would he? I was nobody, a woman alone on a platform in a town I'd never seen waiting for a man I'd never met. 15 minutes, my palms started to sweat. This is fine, I told myself. He's just delayed. He's coming. He has to be coming, because the alternative was unthinkable. 20 minutes a boy approached, 12, maybe 13, freckles across his nose. Hat too big for his head, Miss Hayes? Relief flooded through me, so sharp it almost hurt. Yes, that's me, the boy twisted his hands together, nervous. Mr. Whitmore sent me to fetch you. I'm Ben. I work at the general store. Not Charles himself, but close enough. Lead the way, I said. Tried to sound confident. Like women traveled across the country to marry strangers every day, which they did. But that didn't make it less terrifying. Ben grabbed my carpet bag before I could protest. We walked. Main Street stretched before us. Wide, dusty fronted buildings on either side. So different from Boston's narrow cobblestone streets. So different from everything I'd ever known. Is it far? I asked. The ranch? Ben gave me an odd look. Ranch? Ma'am? Mr. Whitmore owns the general store. In town, something cold settled in my stomach. In town, not a ranch. Charles had written about my property. I'd assumed, but assumptions were dangerous things. We stopped in front of a building. Large windows displaying everything from boots to bolts of fabric. A bell jangled as we entered. The smell hit me first. Leather, tobacco, coffee. A thin man looked up from behind the counter. Receding hairline, soft hands, older than I'd expected. Much older. 50 if he was a day. "Ah," he said. "Miss Hayes," his voice was thin too, like paper. He came around the counter, wiping his hands on his apron. I extended mine. He took it, briefly. His palm was damp. "Welcome to Ashford Creek," he said, but he didn't meet my eyes. "Thank you for arranging my passage, Mr. Whitmore. Your letters were most kind." Something flickered across his face. Discomfort, guilt. "Oh, no, 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 no. About that," he said, started again. "There's been a change. The floor seemed to tilt." "A change?" "My sister arrived. From St. Louis, last month." Unexpectedly, he was talking faster now, words tumbling over each other. "She needs me. Needs a home, and I— What are you saying?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. He flinched. "I no longer require a wife." The words hung there, suspended. "Impossible. I've arranged a room for you," he continued, "at the boarding house. For tonight. Tomorrow you can take the train back east. I'll cover the fare, of course, of course." As if money fixed everything. As if I hadn't sold my entire life to get here. "I have nothing to return to." The words came out quiet, steady, which surprised me, because inside I was screaming. Charles shrugged, actually shrugged. "I'm sorry for your troubles, Miss Hayes, but a man has to do what's best for his family. You advertised for a bride." "Yes," I responded in good faith. "Yes, we corresponded for 3 months, and now I'm offering you a free ticket home." Many would consider that generous. His tone changed, hardened, like I was being unreasonable, like I was the problem. Heat flooded my face, shame, anger, humiliation so thick I could taste it. "Mr. Whitmore." The bell jangled. The door opened behind me. "Whitmore," that voice again, deep, controlled. "I need 20 pounds of nails and new wire cutters." "The ones you sold me last month are already useless." I turned. Decker Wolf filled the doorway. Filled it, completely breaking the afternoon light. Up close he was even more imposing. Over 6 feet, broad through the shoulders, lean through the waist. His face was all angles, strong jaw, high cheekbones, sun-bronzed skin, and his eyes blue. The color of Colorado sky. They landed on me, then Charles, then back to me. Something shifted in his expression. "Didn't mean to interrupt," he said, but he didn't move. Charles brightened, clearly relieved by the distraction. "Not at all, Mr. Wolf. Just finishing up here. I'll get your order ready." He started's hand came up, touch me. Decker's hand came up, just stopping. "Everything all right, ma'am?" I should have said yes. Should have smiled. Should have pretended everything was fine. But I was 29 years old, alone 3,000 miles from home, and I was so tired of pretending. "Perfectly fine," I said. Too stiff, too formal. Decker's eyes narrowed slightly. He didn't believe me. Charles hurried around the counter. "Miss Hayes was just leaving. She's staying at the boarding house tonight before heading back east tomorrow." "Is that so?" Decker said. "Not a question, a statement, Porter." He said my name like he was testing it. "Hayes," I corrected. "Alara Hayes. The mail-order bride." Heat flooded my cheeks again. The blunt description shouldn't have stung. But it did. I was under that impression. "Yes." Decker turned to Charles. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "You're sending her back. My sister arrived," Charles said quickly, "as you know. No need for a wife now, so you let this woman travel all the way from Boston," I supplied. "All the way from Boston, only to turn her away the moment she arrives. It's not your concern, Wolf. It becomes my concern when a man in my town behaves without honor." The words were quiet, but they carried weight, like stones dropping into still water. Charles's face reddened. "I'm sending her back with a first-class ticket." How generous, the sarcasm was unmistakable. Decker looked at me again, really looked, taking in my worn but quality dress, the way I held myself, spine straight despite everything, "Miss Hayes." He said, "Are you still interested in staying in Ashford Creek?" My heart stuttered. "I came here with that intention." "Yes, then I'd like to offer an alternative to returning east." Charles made a sound, protest, surprise. Decker ignored him. "My housekeeper left 2 weeks ago to care for her sick mother in Kansas. My ranch needs someone to manage the household." He paused. "I'm offering you that position, fair wages. 3 months. If at the end of that time you wish to return east, I'll pay your fare. If you choose to stay in Ashford Creek, you'll have had time to consider your options." I stared at him, matching for the catch, the ulterior motive, but his blue eyes were steady. Direct, honest. "You would hire me as your housekeeper." Without references, a slight smile touched his mouth. "You were acceptable as Whitmore's wife without him meeting you. I figure that's reference enough for housekeeping." "Now see here," Charles started. "I believe Miss Hayes can make her own decisions," Decker said, still not looking at him. "What do you say?" My mind raced. This was insane, going to work for a stranger, a man I'd known for all of 5 minutes, living on his ranch miles from town. But what were my alternatives? To nothing. To destitution. Or Stay here, take this chance, this completely mad, utterly unexpected chance. I should warn you, I said. My cooking skills are limited to basics. His smile widened, warming his stern features. We won't starve, Miss Hayes. The important thing is that you'll have a fair chance here. He turned to Ben. Take Miss Hayes's bag to my wagon instead. The boy scrambled to obey. Charles's face had turned an alarming shade of purple. You can't just... I believe I just did. Decker turned back to the counter. About those nails, Whitmore. And just like that, my future changed direction, Agan. 20 minutes later, I sat in Decker Wolf's wagon, the town falling away behind us, open country spreading before us. He'd helped me up, his hand spanning my waist, lifting me effortlessly. For a moment, we'd been close enough that I could smell him. Leather, sun-warmed cotton, something clean and masculine. Then he'd stepped back, put distance between us. We rode in silence, the wagon creaking, wheels crunching on the dirt road. I snuck glances at him. This man who'd just upended my day, his hands were easy on the reins. Confident, capable, the hands of someone who knew exactly what he was doing, unlike me, who had no idea what I was doing. They'll talk, he said suddenly. I jumped slightly. I'm sorry? The town, they'll talk. He gestured back toward Ashford Creek with his chin. Small towns always do. What will they say? He glanced at me, those blue eyes unreadable. That Decker Wolf just claimed Charles Whitmore's mail-order bride for himself. Charles, I corrected automatically. His name is Charles. Right, Charles. Silence again. Then, you should know, Miss Hayes. While you're under my roof, you'll be treated with nothing but respect. I run a working ranch. My men understand how to behave, and I enforce standards. The words were formal, almost stiff, but underneath I heard the promise. The protection. I believe you, I said, and surprised myself by meaning it, and please. Call me Alara, Alara. He repeated my name slowly, like he was tasting it. That's unusual, my mother's choice. From a book of Greek myths, Alara was a mortal loved by Zeus, he said. I turned to stare at him. You know Greek mythology? A slight smile. My mother was a schoolteacher before she married my father. She made sure I could read more than cattle brands. I'm impressed. Don't be. I can barely remember most of it. But he did remember, and something about that, about this rough cowboy knowing Greek myths, made him suddenly more interesting, more complex. We crested a hill, and I gasped. The Wolf Ranch spread before us, vast, beautiful. A 2-story log house sat at the center, well-built porch wrapped around the front beyond it. Outbuildings, corrals, a massive barn, and everywhere, land, rolling away toward mountains in the distance. It's beautiful, I said. Meaning it, Decker's expression softened, pride evident in every line of his face. My father started with nothing but 100 acres and a dream. When he died 5 years ago, he left me 5,000 acres, and the best cattle bloodlines in Colorado. He would have been 30 when his father died, old enough to have carried the weight of both war and loss. It's a good life, he continued, but a demanding one. He guided the wagon toward the house. I have 8 full-time ranch hands plus Gideon Thorne, my foreman. During roundup and branding, we hire extra help. That's a lot of people to cook for, he smiled. The hands eat in the bunkhouse mostly. You'd only need to cook for me. And occasionally Gideon if he's working late. The wagon stopped in front of the house. Decker jumped down, came around to my side, offered his hand. I took it. His palm was rough, collused, strong. He lifted me down. For a moment we stood close, too close. I could see the gold flecks in his blue eyes, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his jaw was shadowed with stubble. My breath caught. He stepped back quickly, cleared his throat. I'll show you inside. He retrieved my carpet bag, led me up the porch steps. The front door opened into a large main room, and I stopped because it was, well, a disaster. Dishes stacked haphazardly on every surface. Boots scattered across the floor, dust coating the furniture. A thin layer of general neglect over everything. As I mentioned, Decker said from behind me, his voice carefully neutral. The house has been without a woman's touch for a few weeks. A few weeks. Right, this looked like months of bachelor living. Maybe years. Your room will be upstairs, he said. Started climbing the broad staircase. First door on the right. Mine is at the end of the hall. The other rooms are empty. Though occasionally Gideon stays over if we're working late, the bedroom he showed me was surprisingly large. A 4-poster bed dominated the space. A chest of drawers. A small writing desk beneath a window. The window overlooked the mountains to the west. The view was breathtaking. I'll let you settle in, Decker said. Set my carpet bag on the bed. Supper's usually at 6. But given the circumstances, don't worry about cooking tonight. I can manage. Nonsense, I heard myself say. I'll need to familiarize myself with the kitchen anyway. Just give me half an hour to freshen up. He looked at me. Something like respect in his eyes. As you wish. I'll be in the barn if you need anything, he left, closing the door softly behind him. I sank onto the bed, let out a long breath. What had I just done? Agreed to live in a stranger's house, miles from town, with no one to vouch for me. No one to protect me if things went wrong. But what choice did I have? And something about Decker Wolf, the way he'd stood up to Charles, the way he'd offered me a way out, not because he pitied me, but because it was right. That meant something. I stood, unpacked my few belongings, changed into a simpler dress, tied an apron around my waist, then went downstairs to assess what I'd gotten myself into. The kitchen was actually well equipped. A good stove, a pump sink, plenty of counter space, buried under the mess. The pantry surprised me, well stocked with staples, flour sugar, coffee canned goods. I found potatoes and onions in a root cellar accessed through a trapdoor. Carrots, too. A smokehouse behind the kitchen contained several hams, bacon, sausages. I could work with this. I rolled up my sleeves, started cleaning, washing dishes, whipping surfaces, sweeping floors. By the time Decker returned, the kitchen was transformed. The dishes washed and put away, the surfaces cleaned, the floor swept, and a simple but hearty meal waiting, fried ham. Potatoes, biscuits. He stopped in the doorway, stared. It smells like my mother's kitchen in here. I hope that's a compliment. The highest, he moved to the pump sink, washed his hands, scrubbed his face, dried himself with a towel. We sat at the large kitchen table. The silence was awkward at first, but gradually, it eased. Decker ate with the appreciation of a man accustomed to his own cooking, which I took as a compliment. Tell me about Boston, he said. So I did. Told him about my father, professor of literature. Our small but comfortable home, the libraries, the concerts, the life I'd known. I glossed over the financial ruin, but he seemed to understand what I left unsaid. And what made you answer Whitmore's advertisement? His eyes were intent on my face. I considered deflecting, but decided on honesty, necessity, primarily. But also a desire for something different. I met his gaze directly. My life in Boston was prescribed. The daughter of a professor, destined to marry another academic or perhaps a lawyer. After my father died, I realized how little I had chosen for myself. I paused. Coming west was my choice, even if the circumstances were less than ideal. Decker nodded slowly. The West is good for reinvention. Most folks here don't care where you came from. Only what you make of yourself now. And what about you? I asked, daring. Have you always been a rancher? Something shifted in his expression. A shadow. I was away for a time. His voice went distant. Fought in the war when I was barely 18. Saw things no boy should see. He fell silent. Then came back changed, like we all did. But the ranch was still here. The land. It has a way of healing a man. He was sharing something deeply personal. A gift of trust I hadn't expected. I'm sorry for what you endured, I said softly. He shrugged, the vulnerability disappearing behind his usual reserve. It was a long time ago. He stood, gathered our plates. I usually make a round of the property before turning in. Will you be all right here alone? Of course. I have plenty to keep me occupied. I gestured at the kitchen, which still needed considerable attention. Don't work too late, he said. Dawn comes early on a ranch. After he left, I finished cleaning, making lists of what needed to be done. The house was large but manageable, with systematic attention. I could make this work. I had to make this work. Because I had nowhere else to go, a knock at the back door startled me. I opened it to find a middle-aged man, graying hair, weathered face. Canned eyes. Evening, ma'am. Gideon Thorne. I'm the foreman here, Alara Hayes. I introduced myself. Please, come in, Mr. Thorne. He stepped inside, hat in hand. Boss told me about the situation in town. Wanted to make sure you were settling in all right. His concern touched me. That's very thoughtful. I'm doing fine, thank you. Gideon nodded, clearly assessing me. Mrs. Harriet was with the boss for 15 years. Left big shoes to fill, I understand. I don't intend to replace her, merely to help while I'm here. Something in my response seemed to satisfy him. Good to hear. Ranch this size needs a woman's touch, but it also needs someone who understands what we do here. He gestured toward the door. If you need anything, my cabin's just beyond the bunkhouse. The boys won't bother you none. Boss runs a tight ship. But holler if you have any trouble. After he left, I made my way upstairs, bun-tired, but oddly content. Through my bedroom window, I could see Decker's tall figure moving across the boulevard, lantern in hand, checking on his land before retiring. There was something reassuring about his vigilance, his clear commitment to his responsibilities. I changed into my nightgown, brushed out my hair, climbed into the four-poster bed. The mattress was softer than I expected, the sheets clean, if a bit rumpled. For the first time since my father's death, I felt safe. This day had not gone as planned, not remotely. But perhaps Providence had a different path in mind. A better path. I thought about Decker, about the way he'd stood up to Charles, about the Greek mythology and the grief in his eyes when he mentioned the war. about the ranch spreading vast and beautiful under the Colorado sky, and I thought maybe, just maybe, this unexpected turn, this mad decision to stay, might be the best choice I'd ever made. I fell asleep to the sound of crickets and the distant lowing of cattle, and for the first time in months, I dreamed of something other than loss. I dreamed of possibility. The days fell into rhythm, fast like water finding its level. I woke before dawn, always because the ranch woke before dawn, and I needed to be ready, needed to prove myself, to Decker, to Gideon, to myself. Breakfast was simple: eggs, bacon, biscuits. Coffee strong enough to strip paint. The ranch hands ate in the bunkhouse mostly, but occasionally one or two would drift to the main house, thrinned by the smell, by the promise of something better than what they could make themselves. They were polite, kept their eyes down, said thank you, sometimes twice, then disappeared back to their work. Decker ate quickly, efficiently, like a man who had too much to do and not enough time to do it, but he always paused before leaving. Good breakfast, Alara, every morning. The same words, like a ritual, like a promise, then he'd be gone, out to the pastures, the corrals, the endless work of running 5,000 acres. And I'd be alone, with the house, room by room. I fought the dust and disorder, found things, beautiful things, hidden beneath years of neglect, a handmade quilt in the cedar chest, colorful, intricate. Someone had loved this house once, had cared for it. A collection of pressed wildflowers in a frame, faded now, but still lovely, family photographs on the mantel, Decker's parents. I recognized his father's strong jaw, his mother's blue eyes. In the study, I found the books, rows and rows of them. Shakespeare, Dickens, Thoreau, Whitman. I pulled out the Whitman, not my father's copy, a different edition. But the same words: I celebrate myself, and sing myself, my mother's collection. Decker's voice from the doorway. I jumped, pressed the book to my chest. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry. You're not prying. He stepped into the room, looked at the shelves with something like longing. She was a school teacher, before she married my father. Made sure I could read more than cattle reports. She had excellent taste. She would have liked you. The words came out soft, unexpected. He seemed surprised he'd said them, cleared his throat. I came to tell you I'm riding out to the north pasture. Won't be back until after dark. I'll keep a plate warm, he nodded, started to leave. Stopped. Alara. Yes? Thank you. For this, he gestured vaguely at the room, the house, for making it feel like a home again. Then he was gone. And I stood there, holding the Whitman, heart beating faster than it should, because something was happening, something I hadn't planned for, hadn't expected. I was starting to care about this house, this ranch, this man, which was dangerous, Susted. I'd be gone in less than 3 months, back to Boston or somewhere else, somewhere I could build a life that made sense. But standing in Stistem, out surrounded by books and sunlight, and the ghost of Decker's mother, I couldn't quite remember why. Leaving seemed like the right choice. The first week became the second, then the third. The house transformed, wanned, sparkled, floors shone, fresh wildflowers on the tables. I'd even tackled the garden. Overgrown, choked with weeds, but underneath vegetables struggling to survive. I weeded, watered, coaxed them back to life, tomatoes, beans, carrot, squash. By the end of the third week, the garden was thriving, and so was I. My hands grew rough-calloused. My skin darkened from the sun. My dresses got looser, from the work, the constant movement. I was becoming someone new, someone I didn't quite recognize, but someone I thought I might like. One afternoon, kneeling in the garden, I heard hoofbeats, fast, urgent. I stood, shaded my eyes. Gideon rode hard toward the house. His face grims, Mrs. Hayes. He didn't dismount. Boss needs you at the bunkhouse. One of the new hands got thrown bad, busted his arm. Got a nasty gash on his head. My stomach dropped. Has someone gone for the doctor? Sent Billy. But Doc Watson's out at the Thompson place, delivering a baby. Could be hours, I didn't think. Just moved, ran inside, grabbed supplies, clean linens, my sewing kit, Wesky, a jar of honey, grandmother's remedy for wounds, at the bunkhouse. I found Decker kneeling beside a young man, 20, maybe younger. His face was pale beneath his tan, blood soaked through the makeshift bandage on his head. His left arm hung at an unnatural angle. Alara. Relief flooded Decker's voice. This is Tommy Peterson. First day on the job. The boy tried to smile, failed. Pleased to meet you, ma'am. Even in pain, polite. I knelt beside him, assessed the damage. The head wound looked worse than it was. Scalp wounds always bled profusely. But the arm, that was serious. We need to clean and stitch that cut, I said. Calmer than I felt, then set the arm. Decker nodded. Tell me what to do. I'd assisted the doctor during Father's final illness. But I'd never done this alone, never been responsible. But Tommy was looking at me with trust in his eyes, and Decker was waiting, so I pushed down on the fear and became someone who knew what to do. We cleaned the head wound first. Gideon held Tommy still. The boy howled when the whiskey hit the open cut, but I worked quickly, stitches small, and even the way grandmother had taught me, the bone setting was harder. Record Decker's strength to pull the arm straight. Tommy screamed, then fainted, which was probably for the best. I guided the bones back into alignment, felt them click into place. We splinted it with strips of wood, clean bandages by the time we finished. All four of us were sweating. "You've done this before," Decker said, watching me wash my hands. "My grandmother was a midwife. She taught me some basics." "Some basics," he almost smiled. "That was more than basics, Alara." We walked back to the main house together, late afternoon sun casting long shadows. "You're full of surprises," he said. "As are you." "How so?" I wouldn't have expected a rancher to be so gentle with an injured man. Something crossed his face. Dark, brief. "When you're responsible for men's lives, you learn what's needed." He stopped at the porch steps, turned to face me. "You've made a difference here already. The house, the men, even the garden's thriving." His praise brought heat to my cheeks. "I'm just doing what needs doing. You're doing more than that." His blue eyes held mine, something unspoken passing between us. For a moment, I thought he might reach for my hand. Instead, he cleared his throat, stepped back. "You should rest." It's been a long day, that night. I lay awake, replaying the moment on the porch. The way Decker had looked at me, not as an employee, not as a friend, as a woman. And the way my body had responded. Heart racing, breath catching, wanting him to close that distance, to touch me. Which was dangerous, foolish. I'd come to Ashford Creek expecting a practical arrangement. Marriage to Charles, security, safety. I had not expected this. This pull toward a man whose very presence made me feel alive. These feelings complicated everything. My position was tenuous. In less than 2 months, I'd need to decide, stay or go. And falling for Decker Wolf, that wasn't part of any plan. But hearts don't follow plans, don't respect boundaries, and mine was starting to betray me. The weeks continued. Decker began inviting me to ride with him. Evenings. After the day's work was done, he'd appear at the kitchen door. "Want to see the property?" And I'd say yes, every time. He chose a gentle mare for me, chestnut, sweet-tempered. Her name's Honey, he said, helping me mount, his hands on my waist. Strong, sure, lingering just a moment longer than necessary. We rode through hidden valleys, past creeks that ran clear and cold, through meadows bursting with wildflowers. He showed me his world, and I fell in love with it. With the vast sky, the distant mountains, the way the setting sun painted everything gold. We talked about books, about his plans for the ranch, about my life in Boston, easy conversation, comfortable, like we'd known each other for years instead of weeks. One evening, we stopped by a creek, let the horses drink, sat on the bank, side by side, not touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "I've been thinking," he said. About how quiet the house has been since Mother died. Then Father, then Mrs. Harriet left. He picked up a smooth stone, turned it over in his hands. I didn't realize how much I missed the sound of someone else in the house, not just the work they did, but the presence. He glanced at me. "The life." "I know what you mean," I said softly. After Father died, the house in Boston felt like a tomb. All those rooms, all that silence. "Is that why you answered Whitmore's advertisement?" "Partly." But also I paused, touching my words carefully. I wanted to be more than just someone's daughter, or someone's burden. I wanted to choose my own life. "And did you? Choose this?" I looked at him, at his strong profile, the way the fading light caught in his dark hair. "I chose to answer Charles. That didn't work out. But then I chose to stay here, to work for you. You could still leave. In 6 weeks, I could. Will you?" The question hung between us. He lolled with meaning. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I don't know what I want anymore." He turned to face me fully. "What do you mean?" "I came west looking for security, a husband, a settled life. But now," I gestured at the landscape around us. "Now, I'm not sure that's enough. I stopped. Too close to saying too much. What do you want, Alara?" His voice was low, intense. "I want to matter, to make a difference, to be someone who builds something. Not just someone who exists. You already do that. For 6 more weeks." "Then what?" "Then," he reached for my hand, stopped himself, pulled back. "Then you decide what comes next." We rode back in silence, but something had shifted, something fundamental, and we both felt it. Sunday came. Church. Decker asked if I wanted to go. "The town will expect to see you," he said. "Make sure you're settling in." All right, I wore my best dress, navy blue, the one I'd worn on the train, pinned my hair up. Tried to look respectable. Decker drove the wagon. Me beside him. Proper, appropriate. But our shoulders touched occasionally, on the bumpy road, and neither of us moved away. The church was small. White clapboard, a simple cross on top. People were arriving. Families, couples. They stared when they saw us. Whispered. Of course they did. We were the scandal, The mail-order bride who never made it to her groom, the cowboy who'd claimed her instead. Inside, Decker led me to a pew. Front right, the Wolf family pew. I could feel eyes on my back, feel the weight of their judgment, their curiosity. After the service, people approached. Some friendly, "Welcome to Ashford Creek, Miss Hayes. We're so glad you're settling in." Others cooler, assessing, wondering what I was really doing at the Wolf Ranch. A woman with pinched features and cold eyes. "You must be the woman Charles was meant to marry," her voice carried. "I'm Eleanor Whitmore, Charles's sister." "Ah, the reason I was here. Pleased to meet you," I said, lying. "I do hope you're not finding ranch life too difficult." "It's quite different from keeping house in town." The implication was clear. "I wasn't good enough. Wasn't capable. I'm managing just fine, thank you." "I'm sure, though one does wonder," she smiled, sharp like a knife. About the propriety of a young woman living alone with a bachelor rancher. Heat flooded my face. But before I could respond, Decker was there. "Protective, Mrs. Whitmore," he said. His voice pleasant, his eyes ice. "Miss Hayes is my employee, and she lives under my protection. If anyone in this town has concerns about propriety, they can address them to me directly." Eleanor's smile faltered. "Of course, Mr. Wolf. I meant no offense. I'm sure you didn't." He offered me his arm. "Shall we, Alara?" We walked to the wagon, my hand on his forearm, feeling the muscle beneath the fabric, the controlled strength. "Thank you," I said when we were alone. "For what?" "For defending me. I don't tolerate gossip about people under my roof." He helped me into the wagon. "Besides, Eleanor Whitmore is known for her sharp tongue. Don't let her bother you." But she did bother me, because she'd voiced what I'd been thinking. What was I doing? Living in Decker's house, sharing meals with him, riding with him in the evenings, growing closer every day. What did it look like to the outside world that night? After supper, we sat on the porch, our usual spot, watching the stars come out. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked. "What?" "Offering me the job, making yourself the subject of gossip." He was quiet for a long moment. "No, why not?" "Because it was the right thing to do." He turned to look at me. "And because I'm glad you're here, Alara. The house is better for it." "I'm better for it." My throat tightened. "In 6 weeks. "Don't think about 6 weeks. Think about now." "But I have to think about it. Have to plan." "Why?" "Because I have nowhere to go if this doesn't work out." The confession came out raw, honest. "You'll always have somewhere to go," he said quietly. Here, before I could respond, before I could ask what he meant. Hoofbeats. Fast, urgent. Gideon appeared. Horse-lathered grim. "Boss, we've got trouble." "What kind?" "Cattle. Missing from the east pasture. At least 30 head." Decker was on his feet instantly. "How fresh are the tracks?" "No more than a few hours. They'll be moving slow with that many head." "Rustlers." The word was flat. "Final. Get the men. We ride in 15 minutes. Gideon wheeled his horse. Galloped away. Decker turned to me. "Lock the doors tonight. All of them. Gideon's wife, Martha, will come stay with you if we're not back by midnight. Be careful." The words came out before I could stop them. He paused. Then, in a gesture that surprised us both, he reached for my hand, pressed it briefly. "I'll come back." Then he was gone, running toward the barn, shouting orders. I stood on the porch watching as 6 men mounted up, rifles and scabbards, determination in every line of their bodies. They rode out into the darkness. And I was alone. I locked the doors. Like he'd asked, but I couldn't sit still, couldn't rest. Every sound from outside, every creak, every rustle, sent my heart racing. I paced, looked out windows, tried to read, failed. Martha arrived around 10, a round woman with kind eyes and steady hands. "Don't you worry, dear," she said, settling into a chair with her knitting. "The boss knows what he's doing. He'll get those cattle back." "What if there's trouble?" "There's always trouble with rustlers." But Decker Wolf didn't survive the war to get taken down by cattle thieves. The war. He'd mentioned it once, briefly, but never in detail. "Was it bad?" I asked. "His service?" Martha's needles paused. "You'd have to ask him, dear. But I will say this. The man who went to war and the man who came back. They weren't quite the same person," she resumed, knitting. "War changes a man. Some it breaks. Some it hardens. Decker, it made him careful, made him value what matters, made him reluctant to let people close." She looked at me over her knitting. "Until now, maybe." I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. Just waited, watching the darkness, praying he'd come back safe. They rode in just after dawn, tired, dusty, but successful. I was standing on the porch, where I'd been since Martha left an hour ago. Decker dismounted, saw me. Something flickered in his eyes, relief, warmth. "We got the cattle back," he said, walking toward me, caught 2 of the rustlers. "Sheriff's taking them to the county jail." "Were you hurt?" He was moving stiffly. I could tell, just saddle sore. Decker. I used his first name. "First time. Let me see. I'm fine, Alara. You're hurt. It's nothing. Let me." "See?" He sighed, climbed the porch steps, followed me into the kitchen. I made him sit, shirt, his eyes widened. Alara, don't argue me. He unbuttoned his shirt slowly, revealing a broad chest, scarred, muscled, and a massive bruise spreading across his ribs, left side. Purple angry. I drew in a sharp breath. One of the rustlers gotten a lucky punch, he said, before Gideon tackled him. You should have told me. I went to my room, grabbed the arnica salve I kept, came back. This will help with the bruising. I warmed the salve between my palms, then applied it to his injured ribs. His skin was warm, smooth over muscle. I could feel his heartbeat, steady, strong, under my fingers. He sat perfectly still, not breathing. The kitchen was silent, just the two of us. My hands on his skin, his eyes on my face, Alara. His voice was rough, yes? I need to tell you something. What? The front door burst open. Ben, the boy from town, breathless, wide-eyed Mr. Wolf. There's a big fight at the saloon. Sheriff sent me to fetch you. Says there's trouble with the rustlers' friends. Decker was on his feet, buttoning his shirt, reaching for his gun belt. Tell the sheriff I'm coming. He glanced at me, frustration in his eyes. I'm sorry. This conversation. Go, I said. The town needs you. When I get back. We need to talk. I'll be here. He paused at the door, looked back, like he wanted to say more. Instead, he left. And I stood in the kitchen, arnica salve still on my hands. Heart pounding. What had he been about to say? And why did it feel like everything was about to change? Returned hours later, dark, exhausted, the fight escalated. He explained, collapsing into amazing threats. Against the ranch, against me. My blood went cold. What kind of threats? The usual. Revenge. Retaliation. He rubbed his face. Sheriff's keeping extra watch. But we need to be careful. For how long? Until the trial next week. Once those men are sentenced, their friends will likely move on, but he didn't look certain, didn't sound convinced over the next few days. The tension ratcheted higher. Gideon doubled the night patrols. The ranch hands carried rifles. Even in daylight, I found myself looking over my shoulder, jumping at shadows. Decker barely slept. I could see it in his face, the dark circles, the tight jaw, the way he moved. Like a man waiting for the other shoe to drop. One night, late. I couldn't sleep. Went downstairs for water, found him at the kitchen table, a lamp burning low, paper spread before him. You should rest, I said. He looked up. So should you? I tried. I sat across from him. What are you working on? Ranch accounts. Planning for next season. He set down his pen, trying to focus on something other than waiting. Waiting for what? For them to make their move. He leaned back. I know they will. It's just a matter of when. You sound certain. I am. Men like that. They don't let things go. They need to save face. Prove they're not weak. He was quiet for a moment. I've seen it before. During the war, there it was, the opening. Will you tell me about it? I asked softly. The war? He looked at me, really looked meeching for something in my face, then slowly. He nodded. I enlisted in 1861. Right after Fort Sumter, I was 18. Thought it would be an adventure. His laugh was bitter. It wasn't. It was hell. Pure and simple. He fell silent. I waited. I fought with the Union Army. Saw action at Bull Run, Antietam, Gettysburg, but the worst, the absolute worst was Petersburg. His hands clenched. We laid siege to that city for 10 months, living in trenches, mud, disease, death all around us. I commanded a company, 23 men, boys really. Most younger than me. His voice broke. On the last day of the siege, we got orders to advance, to breach their lines. We did. We broke through, but he stopped, swallowed hard. There was an explosion. Confederate mine caught us in the open when the smoke cleared. I was the only one left. 23 men gone, just like that. Tears blurred my vision. Decker, I should have died with them. Should have been there in that crater, but I wasn't. I lived. He looked at me. Pain raw in his blue eyes every day since. I asked why. Why me? What am I supposed to do with this borrowed time? I reached across the table, took his hand. He gripped mine, hard, like I was an anchor. You're doing it, I said. You're building something. Taking care of people. Living with honor. Is it enough? It's more than enough. We sat there, hands clasped, until the first light of dawn. Begging to paint the sky, neither of us mentioned the moment. Neither of us let go, until we had to. The attack came 3 nights later. I was in the kitchen. Cleaning up after supper, Decker was in the barn, checking on a mare about to foal. The shot rang out sharp, unmistakable, then shouting. I ran to the window, saw flames, near the far corral, men moving in the darkness, strangers setting fires. My heart stopped, then restarted racing. I ran to the pantry, grabbed the shotgun Decker kept there, checked it was loaded. It was. I'd made sure of that, after the church social, after Eleanor's comments. I'd asked Decker to teach me, just in case. I'd said. He'd agreed. Shown me how to load, how to aim, how to fire. Hopefully you'll never need it, he'd said. But I needed it now. I positioned myself by the kitchen window, overlooking the yard, watched. The ranch hands poured out of the bunkhouse, armed, Gideon shouting orders. Decker emerged from the barn. Rifle in hand, shots rang out. Back and forth, muzzle flashes in the dark. One of the intruders turned toward the house, started running, toward me. I raised the shotgun, hands shaking. "Stop!" I shouted. He didn't, kept coming. I aimed, squeezed the trigger. The recoil nearly knocked me down. The shot went wide, but it was enough. The man veered off, ran the other way. More shots. Then silence. The intruders fled. One left behind. Wounded Gideon and 2 hands surrounded him. I lowered the shotgun, my entire body trembling. The door burst open. Decker, wild-eyed, frantic. "Alara, I'm here," I managed. "I'm all right." He crossed the room and 3 strides pulled me into his arms. Hard, almost too hard. I heard the shot from the house, he said into my hair, thought. He couldn't finish, just held me. I could feel him shaking. "I'm safe," I whispered. I had the shotgun. He pulled back, looked at me, then at the gun in my hands. "You fired it." He was coming toward the house. I didn't know what else to do. "You did exactly right." He took the gun, set it aside, pulled me close again. "God, Alara, when I couldn't get to you?" His voice was raw, broken. We stood there, in the kitchen, holding each other, while outside, Gideon secured the wounded man, while the fires were put out, while the danger passed. But in that moment, none of it mattered, just him, and me, and the way we fit together. Like we'd been made for this, finally. He loosened his grip, but didn't let go completely. "I need to help Gideon," he said. "Take this man to the sheriff. Make sure the property's secure, I know, but first," he cupped my face in his hands, looked into my eyes. "I can't do this anymore." "Do what?" "Pretend I don't want you here. Permanently." "Not as my housekeeper." My breath caught Decker. "I'm not asking for an answer tonight. Not after this, but you need to know. When I look at my future now, I see you in it." Then, with infinite gentleness, he lowered his head, brushed his lips against mine. Soft questioning, I answered. By leaning in, by kissing him back, by letting myself feel everything I'd been fighting. The kiss deepened, his arms tightened around me, my hands fisted in his shirt, when we finally broke apart, both breathless. He rested his forehead against mine. "We'll talk," he said, "when things settle down." "Yes, but Alara, yes? Don't go. When your 3 months are up, don't go." Before I could answer, before I could promise or protest or anything, Gideon's voice carried from outside. "Boss, we need you." Decker closed his eyes. "I have to. Go. I'll be here when you get back." He kissed me again, quick, hard, then he was gone. I stood in the kitchen, touched my fingers to my lips, still warm from his kiss outside. Men were shouting, working. But all I could hear was my own heartbeat. All I could feel was the ghost of his touch. I'd come to Colorado looking for safety, for security, for a practical arrangement that made sense. Instead, I'd found this wild, unpredictable, terrifying thing, Love. And I had no idea what to do with it. But I knew, standing there in the lamplight, that I couldn't leave, wouldn't leave. Not ever, because somewhere between the train platform and tonight, between the kitchen and the garden and evening rides, I'd fallen completely, irrevocably, in love with Decker Wolf, and there was no going back from that. Morning came, gray cold, like the world was holding its breath. I stood at the kitchen window, watching Decker and Gideon inspect the damage from the night before, burned fence posts, scorched earth. The wounded intruder was gone, taken to town, to jail, to face justice. But the threat wasn't over. I could see it in the way Decker moved. Tense out, like a man waiting for the next blow. He came in for breakfast exhausted. He hadn't slept. I could see it written in every line of his face. "Coffee," I said. Not a question, a command. He almost smiled. "Please," I poured. Strong and black, the way he liked it, set bread and butter in front of him. Cold ham, he ate mechanically. Fuel, not pleasure. "The town's calling a meeting," he said finally, "this afternoon. About the rustlers. About the attacks. Will you go?" "Have to." He set down his coffee. "Silas Blackwood will be there." The name meant nothing to me. My face must have shown it. "Mining tycoon from Denver," Decker explained. "Richest man in Colorado. Maybe the whole territory. Why would he come to a town meeting in Ashford Creek? Because he wants my land." The words were flat, Fennel. "Has for 2 years now. Made offers. Good offers. I keep refusing. Why does he want it?" Silver. Decker's jaw tightened. "There's a vein running under the eastern pastures. He knows it, thinks he can buy me out or force me out. And the rustlers? Work for him. I'd bet my life on it." He started to leave. Stopped. "I need you to come with me." "To the meeting, why?" "Because," he turned. Looked at me. Really looked. "Because I want the town to see us together. To know you're not just my housekeeper." My heart stuttered. "What am I then?" He crossed to me, slowly, deliberately, stopped inches away. "You're the woman I'm falling in love with." The world tilted, Decker. "I know. It's fast. It's crazy. We've known each other barely 2 months, but I can't deny it anymore. Can't pretend." His hand came up, cupped my cheek. I'm in love with you, Alara Hayes, and I want the whole town to know it. Before I could respond, before I could process, he kissed me, soft, sweet, a promise. Then he pulled back, we leave at 2, and he was gone, leaving me standing in the kitchen. Heart racing, mind spinning. He loved me, Decker Wolf loved me, and God help me. I loved him back. The town hall was packed. Every seat filled, people standing along the walls. I'd never seen so many people in one place in Ashford Creek. Decker guided me to a seat in the 3rd row. His hand on the small of my back, proprietary, protective. People stared. Of course they did. Eleanor Whitmore sat across the aisle, her eyes narrowed, calculating. Charles was nowhere to be seen. At the front of the room, the mayor stood, a portly man with a red face. Order! Let's have order! The room settled. We're here to discuss the recent troubles, the rustling. The attacks on the Wolf Ranch. He gestured to a man in the front row. Mr. Blackwood has asked to address the assembly. Silas Blackwood stood, tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed. Everything about him screamed money, power, entitlement. Thank you, Mayor, he said. His voice smooth, cultured. I come before you today with a proposal. A solution to the violence plaguing your community, he turned. Addressed the room. As many of you know, I've made offers to purchase the Wolf Ranch, fair offers, generous offers. His eyes found Decker, offers that have been repeatedly refused. I understand Mr. Wolf's attachment to his family land, I do, but attachment doesn't pay wages, doesn't protect livestock, doesn't keep people safe. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I'm prepared to make a new offer, right here, right now, double what I offered before. Enough to set Mr. Wolf up comfortably anywhere he chooses. This isn't just about money, it's about progress, about bringing jobs to Ashford Creek, about building a future. He paused, let the words sink in. My mining operation would employ 50 men, maybe more. That's 50 families with steady income, 50 families who can build lives here. More murmurs, louder now, interested. All I ask, all I've ever asked, is for Mr. Wolf to consider what's best not just for himself, but for this entire community. He sat down satisfied. Smug, the mayor looked at Decker. Mr. Wolf, would you like to respond? Decker stood slowly, every eye in the room on him. Mr. Blackwood makes a compelling case, he said. Jobs, progress, a bright future. He turned, faced Blackwood directly, but he's leaving out a few details, like how his mining operation will poison the creek that supplies water to half the ranches in this valley, like how silver mining uses mercury, which seeps into the groundwater, makes it undrinkable, unusable, like how when the silver runs out in 10, maybe 15 years, he'll pack up and leave, and we'll be left with a dead creek, poisoned land, and no way to sustain ourselves. The room went silent. The Wolf Ranch has been here for 3 generations. It'll be here for 3 more if I have anything to say about it, not because I'm stubborn, but because some things are worth protecting. This land, this water, the way of life we've built here, that's worth more than any amount of money. He paused, and I'm not selling. Blackwood's expression hardened. Even if it means more violence, more attacks? Are you confessing to something, Mr. Blackwood? The room gasped. Blackwood's eyes went ice cold. I'm simply pointing out the obvious, as long as you refuse to cooperate. The troubles will continue. That sounds like a threat. It's a prediction. Decker took a step forward. The tension in the room ratcheted up, dangerous, volatile. I stood not thinking, just acting. Excuse me. My voice cut through the silence. Every head turned. Decker looked at me, surprised, concerned. I moved into the aisle, faced Blackwood. Mr. Blackwood, I said, you talk about what's best for the community, about progress and jobs in the future, but progress built on stolen land isn't progress. It's theft. His eyebrows rose. Stolen? I'm offering to buy, at a price you know he'll never accept, after orchestrating attacks to drive that price down, after terrorizing his workers, burning his property. You have no proof, don't I? I was bluffing, but my voice didn't waver. The man arrested last night. He'll talk eventually. They always do. And when he does, when he names you as the one who hired him, paid him to steal cattle and set fires, what then? Blackwood's jaw clenched. You're making serious accusations, Miss Hayes, Alara Hayes, and yes, I am. I turned to the room, to the faces watching. You all know Decker Wolf, know his father before him, know they've always dealt fairly, honestly. With honor, this man, I pointed at Blackwood, comes here with pretty words about progress. But what has he ever done for Ashford Creek? What has he built here? What roots has he put down? Decker Wolf protects this town, employs your sons, buys from your businesses, sits in church every Sunday, and you're going to turn your backs on him because a stranger waves money in your faces. Silence. Then Gideon stood. Miss Hayes is right, his voice carried. Strong, sure, I've worked for the Wolfes for 20 years. Decker's father, now Decker. They're good men, fair men, and I don't trust this one. He jerked his chin at Blackwood. Not one bit. Another man stood. Then another, one, ranch hands, shop owners, families. The Wolfies have always been there for us. Can't say the same about outsiders. I'm with Decker. The tide was turning. Blackwood could see it. His face went white, then red. You're making a mistake, he said, his cultured veneer cracking. All of you. You're choosing sentiment over sense. Loyalty over prosperity. We're choosing what's right, Gideon said, over what's easy. Blackwood grabbed his hat, stood. You'll regret this. Is that another threat, Mr. Blackwood? The sheriff asked, standing near the door. Hand on his gun, Blackwood's eyes narrowed. It's a fact. He strode out, the door slammed behind him. The room erupted, talking, arguing, celebrating. Decker was beside me. That was stupid? Brave, he corrected. Incredibly brave. His eyes shone. Thank you. I couldn't just sit there. Couldn't let him. I know, he took my hand. Right there, in front of everyone. Come with me. Where? You'll see. We left the town hall, people calling after us, wanting to talk, to celebrate. But Decker just kept walking, to the wagon, helped me up. Not to a ranch somewhere else. Where are we going? There's something I need to show you. We drove for 20 minutes. Following a creek, the same creek that ran past the ranch, but further upstream, where the water ran clear and cold, where cottonwood trees grew thick, where mountains rose purple in the distance. He stopped the wagon, helped me down, led me through the trees, to a clearing. And I gasped, because there, in the middle of nowhere, was a house partially built, 4 walls, winding framed but not yet glassed, a roof going up. What is this? Decker stood beside me, looking at the structure, pride and nervousness in his expression. Our future, he said. If you want it, my heart stopped. I don't understand. I've had men working on this for the past month. Since I realized I didn't want you to leave, he turned to me. It's small now, just 4 rooms, but it's designed to expand, to grow with us. I want to start fresh, Alara. Not have you living in my parents' house, in their memories. I want us to build our life together. From the foundation up, he took both my hands. This land, this creek, it's the most beautiful spot on the ranch. I've always loved it here, always thought. Someday, when I found the right person, I'd build here, and you think I'm the right person, I know you are. He went down on one knee, right there, in the dirt, in the clearing. My breath caught, Alara Hayes, from his pocket. A small box. He opened it. A ring. Gold band. A sapphire flanked by 2 small diamonds. Still beautiful. This was my mother's, he said. My father gave it to her when he asked her to come west with him. She always said the sapphires reminded her of the Colorado sky. Tears blurred my vision. She came west as a mail-order bride. Did you know that? I shook my head. She'd answered an advertisement from a rancher looking for a wife. Came all the way from Ohio with nothing but hope and courage. My father said the moment he saw her step off that train, he knew. She was the one. His voice roughened, the way I knew. The moment I saw you in Whitmore's store, Decker. Marry me, Alara, not because you need security, not because it's convenient, but because I love you. And I want to spend the rest of my life building something beautiful with you. The tears spilled over. Yes, I'll marry you. He stood, slipped the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly. Then he kissed me, deep, thorough, a kiss that promised everything. When we broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For taking a chance on me. On this life. On us, I should be thanking you. You saved me that day in the store. No, he pulled back, looked into my eyes. We saved each other. We stood there in the clearing surrounded by cottonwoods and mountains, the house rising behind us, our future taking shape. And I thought this was what I'd been searching for, not safety, not security, but belonging, purpose. Love? When? I asked. When what? When do you want to get married? He smiled. That slow smile that transformed his face. As soon as the house is finished. 2 weeks, maybe 3 that fast. I've waited long enough. Don't want to wait anymore, neither do I. He kissed me again. Then, come on, I'll show you the inside. He led me through what would be the front door, into a large open room. Kitchen here, living area there. 2 bedrooms on this side. Room to add more later. When we need them, the implication made me blush. There's more. He took me outside, to the back of the house, where a foundation had been laid. Larger separate. What's this? He was quiet for a moment. A bunkhouse, he said finally. But not for ranch hands. For who then? Men like me. He turned to face me. Veterans. Men who came back from the war, changed, broken. Looking for purpose. I've been thinking about it for a while. The ranch is big enough. There's always work. And some of these men, they just need a place, a chance, a way to heal. His eyes were bright, intense. I survived when 23 of my men didn't, and I've spent 5 years asking why. What I'm supposed to do with this borrowed time. This is it, Alara. This is what I'm supposed to build. Not just a ranch, not just a legacy of cattle and land, but a place of healing. of second chances, of hope. I stared at him. This man, this beautiful, complicated, honorable man, that's why you couldn't sell to Blackwood, I said. Understanding flooding through me. It's not about the money, or even the land. It's about what you're trying to build here. Yes, then we'll build it together. His eyes widened. You mean it? Of course I mean it. This is important. This matters. I took his hands. You asked me once what I wanted. I said I wanted to make a difference, to build something. This is it. This is how we make a difference. He pulled me into his arms, held me tight. I love you, he said into my hair. I love you so much. I love you too. We stood there, in the shadow of our unfinished house, dreaming of the future, planning, hoping, building, together. Word of our engagement spread through Ashford Creek like wildfire. Within a day, everyone knew. Most were happy, genuinely pleased. They'd seen us together, seen the way Decker looked at me, the way I looked at him. Some, like Eleanor Whitmore, we're less enthusiastic. She made sure to tell me, at the general store, 2 days later. So it's true, she said, voice dripping with false sweetness. You're marrying Mr. Wolfe. Yes, how convenient. To go from rejected mail-order bride to wealthy rancher's wife in less than 3 months. The implication was clear. I was a schemer, a gold digger. I met her eyes. Steady calm. I'm marrying Decker because I love him, and he loves me. The ranch, the money, none of that matters. Of course you'd say that, because it's true. I paid for my purchases. Started to leave. Stopped. Turned back, Mrs. Whitmore. I'm sorry your brother treated me poorly. I'm sorry things didn't work out as planned. But I'm not sorry I met Decker. Not sorry I stayed. And I'm not sorry I'm marrying him. I hope someday you can be happy for us. I left, her mouth hanging open. Outside, Martha was waiting. Gideon's wife, she'd become a friend, an ally. Don't mind her, Martha said, linking her arm through mine. She's just bitter. Her brother's a fool. And she knows it. Speaking of Charles, where is he? I haven't seen him since that first day. Martha's expression darkened. Left town. Week after you arrived, heard he went to California. To start over. Good riddance, I say. Though I do feel sorry for his sister. She's stuck here now. We walked together. Back to where Decker was loading supplies into the wagon. The whole town's talking about the wedding, Martha said. Planning it already? Planning it? Of course. You're marrying Decker Wolfe. That makes it a community event. She patted my arm. Don't worry. We'll make sure it's beautiful. And they did. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Women appeared at the ranch, bringing fabric, lace cords for a wedding dress. You can't just wear your Sunday best, Martha insisted. This is your wedding, so we sewed, in the evenings. After the day's work was done, cream silk, Sybil lines, lace at the collar and cuffs. From Martha's own wedding dress, she said, eyes misty. The men worked on the house. Gideon organized crews. The roof went up, one were installed. Floors laid. Walls painted. It was coming together. Our home, our future. Decker and I fell into new patterns. Stolen moments, kisses in the barn, walks by the creek. Planning, dreaming, talking about everything. How many bedrooms do you think we'll need? He asked one evening. We sat on the porch, our usual spot. Eventually, I blushed. I don't know. How many do you want? 4, maybe 5. He grinned. A whole house full of children. Running, laughing, making noise. That's a lot of children. I was an only child. Always wished for siblings. Brothers, sisters. His expression softened. I want our children to have what I didn't, a big family. People to rely on? Then 4 or 5 it is, yeah? Yeah, he kissed me. Slow, sweet, thank you. For what? For wanting this life with me. For being willing to build it. Together, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. But that night, as I lay in bed, I thought about Charles. About how close I'd come to a very different life, a safe life, predictable, small, instead. I was marrying a cowboy with big dreams and a bigger heart, building a ranch that would become a haven, starting a family, creating something that mattered. It was terrifying and thrilling and exactly right. The wedding was set for the first Saturday in September, at the new house on the porch Decker had built, overlooking the creek, the mountains, the future. The night before, tradition dictated we sleep apart. Decker stayed at the main ranch house. I stayed with Martha and Gideon in their cozy cabin. Martha helped me bathe. Wash my hair, nervous? She asked, terrified. Of marrying Decker? Of being a wife? Of being enough? Martha's hand stilled in my hair. Listen to me, child. You are more than enough. You're exactly what he needs, what this ranch needs. What if I fail? You won't. But even if you stumble, even if things get hard, you'll have Decker and us. And this community. You're not alone anymore, Alara. Remember that. Her words settled something in me, calmed the panic, because she was right. I wasn't alone. Not anymore. The morning dawned clear, bright, perfect. Martha and several other women helped me dress. The cream silk, the borrowed lace. They pinned my hair up, wove wildflowers through it. Beautiful, Martha breathed. I looked in the mirror, barely recognized myself. This woman, sun-bronzed, strong, happy. Where was the pale, frightened girl who'd stepped off the train 3 months ago? Gone, replaced by someone new, someone better. The guests were already gathering when we arrived. The yard was transformed tattles under the cottonwoods. Lanterns hanging from branches, flowers everywhere. And people, so many people. The whole town had come. Ranch hands in their Sunday best, shopkeepers, families, even the sheriff. But I only had eyes for one person, Decker, standing on the porch, tall, handsome, in a new black suit, his hair neatly combed, his face alight with love. As he saw me, Gideon walked me forward, offered his arm. Ready? He whispered. Yes, we walked through the crowd, up to the porch, to Decker, who took my hands, held them tight. The minister began. But I barely heard the words, just stared at Decker, at the man who'd saved me, challenged me, loved me when it came time for vows. Decker spoke first. I, Decker Wolf, take you, Alara Hayes, as my wife, not because I need someone to keep my house or cook my meals, but because I love you, because you make me want to be better, to build something worthy. I promise to honor you, protect you, stand beside you as we build our life together. His voice was steady. Strong. My turn. I, Alara Hayes, take you, Decker Wolf, as my husband, not because I need security or a home, but because I love you, because you gave me the courage to choose my own life. I promise to be your partner, your equal, to build this dream with you. Whatever comes, the minister smiled, by the power vested in me. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Decker didn't hesitate, pulled me close, kissed me deep, thorough, a promise, a claim, a beginning. The crowd erupted. Cheering, clapping. We broke apart, celebrating, both breathless, both grinning. Hello, Mrs. Wolf, he said. Hello, Mr. The celebration man will end tonight dancing to fiddle music. Food, so much food. Toasts, laughter, joy as the sun set. Decker pulled me aside. Come with me. Where? Just for a moment, we slipped away from the crowd. Down to the creek, where the water reflected the stars. Where we could be alone, happy, he asked. Completely. I leaned into his embrace. This is everything I never knew I wanted. Me too. We stood there, husband and wife, under the Colorado stars. Ready to go back? He asked eventually. Or should we just run away? Start our honeymoon early? I laughed. We can't abandon our own wedding. Watch me. But we went back to our guests, our friends, our community. The celebration continued. Until the last lantern burned low, until the last guest departed, until it was just us, in our new house, our new life. Decker carried me over the threshold, even though we'd been in and out 100 times. Tradition, he said, set me down gently. The house was quiet, empty, waiting to be filled with life, with love, with the future we'd build. I love you, I said. I love you too. And that night, in the house we'd built with our own hands, we began our forever. 10 years later, I stood on the same porch watching. Jesse, 8 years old, dark hair like his father, blue eyes that saw everything. He sat on his pony, concentrating, Decker beside him, teaching Pongden. Proud Clara, 6 years old, sat next to me, her sampler in her lap. Home is where love grows, it said. In careful stitches. Mama, look, Jesse called. I did it. He guided the pony in a circle, all by himself. Well done, I called back. Decker looked up, caught my eye, smiled, that slow smile, the one that still made my heart race. After 10 years, after 2 children, after building a life together, the ranch had prospered, grown. Not just in cattle and land, but in purpose. The bunkhouse Decker had dreamed of, it was real now. Home to 12 veterans, men who'd come broken, lost matching for meaning. Here they found work, purpose. Healing, they worked the ranch, learned new skills, slowly, carefully, put themselves back together. Some stayed a year, some stayed longer, all left better than they'd arrived. It was Decker's legacy, the thing he was building, not just for himself, but for the men who'd died, for the survivors who still suffered, for the future. The town had grown too, new families, new businesses. Thriving, Silas Blackwood had never returned. His mining operation had failed elsewhere, gone bankrupt. Last we'd heard, he'd left Colorado altogether. Good riddance. Charles Whitmore, I sometimes thought about him, wondered how his life had turned out, if he'd found happiness in California. I hoped so, despite everything. I'd forgiven him long ago, because his rejection, his cowardice, had led me here to this life, to Decker, to everything that mattered. Mrs. Wolf. I turned. One of the veterans stood there, hat in hand. Yes, Thomas? Just wanted to thank you. For the meal, for everything. Thomas had arrived 6 months ago, haunted, silent, barely functional. Now he was smiling, working, healing. You're always welcome here, I said. You know that? He nodded, walked back toward the bunkhouse. Decker came up the porch steps, Jess and Clara running ahead to wash up for supper. He slipped an arm around my waist. What are you thinking about? Everything. Nothing. How lucky we are. Lucky. He pressed a kiss to my temple. I'd say it was more than luck. What would you call it? Choice. Courage, love. He turned me to face him. You chose to stay, to take a chance on a broken-down cowboy with too many dreams and not enough sense. You weren't broken down. I was. You just couldn't see it, or maybe you could, and you stayed anyway. Of course I stayed. I loved you. Love you, he corrected. Present tense. Love you. I smiled. Present. Future. Always any regrets, he asked. The same question he'd asked on our wedding night, and every anniversary since. Not a single one. Me neither. We stood there, on the porch we'd been married on, overlooking the land we'd built together, the family we'd created, the legacy we were leaving. And I thought this was what I'd been searching for all along. Not a husband, not security, not safety, but purpose, partnership, love, the train that brought me to Ashford Creek. I'd thought it was taking me to a practical arrangement, a marriage of convenience with a stranger. Instead, it had brought me home, to a man who saw me, really saw me, to a life that challenged me, fulfilled me, made me more than I'd ever dreamed of being. I'd come west as a mail-order bride, desperate, alone, afraid. I'd become Alara Wolf, wife, mother, partner, year, not because a man chose me from a letter, but because I chose myself, chose courage, chose love. And that made all the difference, Mama. Papa, supper, Clara called from inside. Decker took my hand. Ready? Always we walked inside. Together, to the table surrounded by children and laughter, to the life we'd built, to the future still unfolding. And as I sat down, Jesse on one side, Clara on the other, Decker across from me, his eyes full of love, I thought, this is enough, this is everything, this is home. And I was finally, completely, utterly where I belonged. The end.